social justice and universalism, etc., etc. That's one thing that has been really lacking from the aid culture of the last 10 years. In the mid-90s, just pre-Tony Blair coming to power in Britain, the University of Sussex, their development studies department, developed a livelihoods approach to international development, whereby we needed to phase out a welfare aspect to development and solely concentrate on supporting people's livelihoods. Now, that indeed is, in a perfect world, would be, the way forward. But certainly in our part of the world, with the statistics I gave you earlier about 84% of our population living in abject poverty, in order to support... 49% of our children are... Yeah, as my dad's saying, 45% of our children are chronically malnourished. In order for us to support a livelihoods approach to development, that requires people to have a surplus to support, if you understand what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
I kind of see that this whole attack on the welfare system that we're seeing in Scotland today and in, I suppose, in the whole of the UK is not, I shouldn't say a direct product, but what we're seeing, what we saw in 1996, 97, this new policy formulation. We've seen this already, what is being experienced in Scotland and in Britain now with this move away, this, Joanne Lamont's something for nothing culture. We've already experienced that here, and on the aid field, whereby you take, somebody is not making a livelihood, they're merely existing, and you're saying, right, come on, you need to stop existing and come with us, and we'll teach you how to basket weave, and that will earn you an income, and your family will be in the land of milk and honey forever. I mean, that's
doesn't work like that.
Yeah, on paper it looks like a fantastic model, but in a place like this where you have such abject poverty, you firstly have to take care of somebody's basic needs, and that's what you need to direct your investment at, is ensuring that people can take care of their basic needs, and livelihoods as a result will naturally follow.
It's Maslow.
And as my dad says, it's the Maslow principle.
Yeah, I had similar discussions when I was involved with the charity. Like, people say you're breeding a dependency culture, those kind of arguments. And strangely, some of those arguments came from people on the left. There shouldn't be so much international aid. I actually agree that there shouldn't be so much given to people like Oxfam and some of the other major charities, but not because I don't think they do. Sorry? Not
Westminster in the House of Lords.
Yeah, but no, it's not because I don't think that these charities do fantastic work and the kind of thing that you're doing or the kind of thing that I used to be involved in. It's important and it's necessary, and it's immediately necessary. It stops people dying. That's what you have to do. It's like meeting their basic needs, exactly as you said. However, the point is that these charities have begun to exist because governments haven't been doing their jobs. And I don't mean governments just at home for their own population. I mean just the general duty of care for all people, on the principle that all men are brothers. And therefore, these charities started to exist. And then when the neoliberal kind of consensus started to take over, governments, instead of being shamed by the fact that these charities were picking up the slack, have actually outsourced a lot of stuff to these charities, which hasn't necessarily helped. I think that a lot of the aid work that goes on exists because governments don't do enough. I don't know what your position would be on that.
Yeah, and I think this is one thing where I would really hope that the future Scottish government, an area that they can look at, is how we want to frame our aid policy and our interventions. We talk a great talk at home about universalism and social justice, etc., etc. And I really hope that we can extend that into the aid field, and that what we expect our own population to receive, we expect any population in the world to receive. And I think Scotland coming into the world in 2016, in March apparently, is so well placed to formulate an incredibly modern and a brand new take on international development that can be really, really effective in the reduction in poverty, and especially, as you say, in areas like this where we have a direct link with Scotland.
We need to be an alternative to the status quo. There's the famous book on the United Nations and the Lords of Misrule, and the people in the aid industry, and it's become a privatised industry that keeps an elite having a nice standard of living and keeps them in a job and a self-serving, self-perpetuating system.
Can I just add to that, on the Western side, it keeps certain major businessmen feeling like that they've done something. It's the same. It's the old discussion. Like, right, if Bill Gates has $50 billion and he gives $5 billion to something, that makes absolutely no difference to his quality of life. But if you're the guy who's only got 50 quid and you give 10 quid or 5 quid, that makes an enormous difference to your quality of life.
Also, more importantly, Michael, I think that British aid policy is directed at the best interests of Britain.
The British state.
The British state. And you can understand why that is the case. And certainly, I'm not saying that Scottish aid policy should not be detrimental to the Scottish state. But, you certainly, as you say, I would say our aid policy is certainly directed towards supporting British industry, supporting British mineral companies. I know,
but not the Scotch.
But you're not. There's many reasons why I guess I'm saying there's many reasons why countries give aid, and
it's not always altruistic.
Yeah, as my father says,
it's not always altruistic.
You look at Glencore in Zambia, a big mining company. Now I know Glencore is not a British company. It was set up by an American fraudster in the 1970s. And it runs one of the largest copper mines in Zambia and one of the largest copper smelters, and it makes what Zambia Sugar has done pale into insignificance in terms of the money that it hasn't paid in tax, and its direct links to the British establishment are shocking.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of feel that British aid, a large extent of that goes towards supporting what is in Britain's economic interests. And I think if we're truly about a country of universalism and social justice, that must be reflected in our aid policy.
A more philanthropic instead of Machiavellian organisation of aid policy.
Exactly.
Would certainly be something to shoot for. Okay, I think that's been very, very interesting for everyone. So, Ruaridh and Keith, thanks very much. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Michael. It was a pleasure.
So there you have it, our first podcast semi-live from Zambia. Just to let you know that there'll be another episode for that on Sunday. And as usual on the Scottish Independence podcast, the guest chooses the tune. And Keith and Ruaridh choose Alba by Ruaridh. So this is their choice, and here it is, and I'll speak to you next time.